body count, body count, body count, body count, body count, nigga. Body count, body count, body count, body count, body count, body count, body count.
Hey YouTube, it's 4 in the morning and I just decided to get out of bed, throw on my bathrobe and tell you guys about what I've been thinking about.
Hi Sean, I'm Richard the Dick Coughlin. It's lunchtime, I've just woken up, I'm here in my pants, trying really hard not to be sexy, and it's failing miserably, quite frankly.
You know, when I go to bed at night, all I think about is God.
Don't think I'm going to tell you what I think about when I go to bed at night, Sean.
It's been like that ever since I became a Christian, which is about 5 years now.
Been like that ever since I was a teenager.
And tonight I have just an interesting thought. Now, many of you people out there believe in God, and many of you don't.
I'm with you so far, Sean.
I'd like to pretend for just a moment that God does not exist.
Heathen!
If that's the case, what a strange anomaly belief in God is. It's strange to exist in a world where there is no God and yet to find such a large portion of the population believing in this thing called God.
Well, it's not as simple as that, is it, Sean? Because you say believe in this thing called God, but it's not like you all believe in the same God. I mean, if you're religious, if the God you believe in is outnumbered by other believers who believe in a different sort of God, does that make the belief you have in your God an anomaly and one that is strange? I mean, what makes your belief any different to that than that of a Muslim?
So I'd ask you guys to ask yourselves this question. What is a better explanation for belief in God? And you only have two options.
We don't have two options, Sean. I'll explain that in a short... Oh, carry on, son.
Either God is the cause of belief in God, or something that is not God, or the lack of God is the cause of belief in God. And in which scenario is it more likely that belief in God would exist?
But wouldn't it be more likely that they all believed in the same God? Wouldn't it be more likely? And the fact that you're not arguing for the God you believe in says to me that you're struggling to sort of... You realise that. This is why I understand when people make these arguments, like the Kalam argument. They make this argument because they're just trying to sort of say, let's get them accepting there's a God first, then we can argue amongst, get them sort of believing our one. But it's not, it doesn't work like that, son. You know what I mean? You should be able to argue for your God.
Whereas alternatively, if God does not exist, it's something of an anomaly that people would have any notion of God whatsoever.
Well, there's a difference between notion and belief, isn't there, Sean? There's a difference there, isn't there, mate?
So it seems we exist in a world that supports God.
Well, here's a question for you, Sean. Belief that the Earth is flat is highly likely in a world where the Earth is flat. Belief in the Earth being flat is an anomaly and highly unlikely in a world where the Earth isn't flat. Now, there was a time when most people on the planet believed that the Earth was flat, Sean. So the beliefs in actually mean dick all. But you want to know where beliefs in God come from, Sean? This is just my fucking opinion, mate. This is where I think belief in God's come from, and beliefs in lots of supernatural things. And like I said, this is just the way I see it. Human beings, we have certain inclinations and instincts that we all sort of have. There are exceptions to the rule, but there's a human nature to it. Now, I'm not saying that it's a good thing, that it's because it's in our nature. What I'm saying is because our nature in a way is something that has to be overcome for us to be. It's in our nature to be irrational, but we know that being rational is better than being irrational. So we have to kind of force ourselves to be rational. Now, human beings are, for the most part, quite fucking lazy. We like to get away with doing if we can achieve a goal, we're doing as little as possible. We can have that. We'll take that for the most part. So, human beings are quite lazy. We also have very, very active imaginations. We have a high intelligence, and so we have very, very active imaginations. And we can imagine things that don't exist, and we can actually create them, can't we? We can imagine a tune in our head, and we can make that tune. We can imagine an invention. We can picture a building. We can picture all of these things as some sort of gadget or gizmo or utility, and we can create that and in our head, and then we can make that. So we've got active imaginations, and we're quite lazy. We've also got this incredible fear of our own ignorance. We hate not knowing stuff. We hate the fact when someone asks you your opinion on something, or when someone asks you a question, one of those expansive ways, like, what do you think about this? When is this? Why are we here? You hate not having an answer. People don't like being steeped in their own ignorance. They like to feel they know. But because they're lazy and we've got an overactive imagination, those two, combined with the third one, tend to lead us to sort of just make things up in our heads to make it easier for us to get through our day-to-day life. Because it's very difficult for most people, Sean, working their 9 to 5s and doing their regular things, to have the time to sit down and fucking read all this shit and learn all the stuff about cosmology and the Big Bang and evolution. Most people don't have the fucking time. So their brain will compensate for their lack of ignorance, and their own insecurity will be subsided simply by the fact that they can make up this idea in their fucking head that will then subside their ignorance, that will then overtake their fucking need to have to do any fucking work, and then they can all get by happy in everyday life and just sit there and accept it and say, that's my belief. That's where I think belief in God comes from, Sean. I ask you this, Sean. As the number of atheists in the world, or people who are non-believers or non-religious, increases, does that make the likelihood of God somewhat diminished? Is God now less likely in a world where more atheists exist than he was, say, 100 years ago? Or 1,000 years ago? I don't know. Richard Dick Coughlin, 616. Good night, may God be less.